Nancy Mariana Mastrovargas was the kind of girl who lit up every room she entered. Born in 1975 in Barranquilla, Colombia, she was cheerful, fearless, and full of dreams. Her biggest goal? To study in the United States and build a life beyond the borders of her hometown. That dream was about to come true. She had just passed her university entrance exams abroad. On New Year's Eve, 1993, her family gathered to celebrate, unaware that this would be the last time they'd ever see Nancy truly happy or alive. As fireworks painted the night sky, a pickup truck pulled up outside. Behind the wheel was Jaime Enrique Saad Cormane, a wealthy businessman nearly twice Nancy's age, and her boyfriend. Her parents hesitated but allowed her to go, reminding him to bring their daughter home by 3 a.m. But 3 a.m. came and went, and Nancy never returned. At dawn, Nancy's father, Martín Mastró, woke up to find her bedroom empty. Panic rising, he drove through the sleeping streets of Barranquilla, stopping at every club, every corner. She might have gone to nothing. Desperate, he went to Jaime's house. There, he found Jaime's mother cleaning the floor, soaked in blood. When Martin demanded answers, she simply said Nancy had an accident, that she'd been taken to a hospital after trying to take her own life. But when Martin reached the hospital, reality shattered his world. His daughter lay motionless, a gunshot wound to her head, and yet the pieces didn't fit. Nancy had been radiant with joy that day. She had no reason to end her life. Something was terribly wrong. Doctors fought for 8 days to save Nancy. Her father never left her side. On her final day, as her heart began to fade, he sang her childhood song, Daddy's Beautiful Girl. Her pulse flowed, then stopped. But grief soon turned to rage. Forensics shattered the Saad family's story. There was no gunpowder on Nancy's dominant hand. Instead, traces appeared on the opposite hand, proof someone else pulled the trigger. Her body bore signs of struggle, assault, and defensive wounds. Even more damning, male DNA from 2 men was found. The truth was no longer hidden. Nancy hadn't taken her own life. She'd been murdered. And Jaime Saad, the man she loved, had vanished without a trace. Just days after her death, Martin received an anonymous letter. It revealed a horrifying possibility that on New Year's Eve, Nancy had walked in on Jaime, wearing makeup, dressed as a woman, and engaging in acts with multiple people, including men. Panicked, she tried to flee. Jaime and his friends caught her. What happened next was beyond imagination. Nancy was beaten, dragged through mud, and nearly abandoned in a remote forest. But before they left her for dead, they changed their minds and brought her to the hospital to fake an accident. When investigators arrived at Jaime's house, he was gone forever. Years passed. The case grew cold. Jaime Saad was convicted in absentia in 1996 and sentenced to 27 years in prison. But he was nowhere to be found. Rumors said he'd fled to the EU. For most, it was over, but not for Martín Mastró. Fueled by loss, he trained himself in forensic investigation and intelligence work, determined to do what the police couldn't. He created 4 fake identities, infiltrated the Saad family online, and studied their every post, every word. Then, in 2019, 26 years later, a clue appeared. A single word in a relative's message, Samaria. Most thought it meant a Colombian city, but Martin realized it was something else. It was Santa Maria, a neighborhood in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. Interpol was alerted. Brazilian police began surveillance. There, in a quiet neighborhood, lived a man known as Enrique de Santos. Abdullah, calm, friendly, and ordinary. But one glass he drank from told the truth. His fingerprint matched perfectly. After 26 years, Jaime Enrique Saad Cormane, Nancy's killer, had been found. He had built a new life in Brazil, married, had 2 children, opened businesses, even renewed his driver's license under a fake identity. Yet in his children's birth certificates, he'd signed his real name. Arrogance or habit, it was his undoing. When arrested, he showed no resistance. But what came next would stun the world. Jaime claimed innocence. In a letter, he said Nancy had taken her own life while he was showering a desperate, hollow story that forensic evidence had already disproved. Even more shocking, his Brazilian wife, who had known his secret all along, went on television to defend him, calling him a victim of lies. For 10 months, he sat in a Brazilian prison, awaiting extradition to Colombia. But when the Supreme Court reviewed his case, they declared the crime had expired. Too much time had passed. The vote tied, and by law, the tie went in favor of the defendant. After 27 years on the run, Jaime Saad walked free. Martín Mastró, now an old man, wept as the man who destroyed his daughter's life escaped justice once again. Yet even now, he hasn't given up. He's hired international lawyers, still fighting to this day. Nancy's story reminds us that time may fade wounds, but it never erases truth. Because somewhere out there, a father still waits not for revenge, but for justice.